Welcome to Zero to Hero, the series where we teach you how to teach yourself how to play Pokemon VGC, from the basics to the complex. Today's topic is items. Each Pokemon can hold one item. Like other aspects in Pokemon, held items are very diverse and have a wider range of effects. Some items are consumable, meaning they're used once and then disappear. Other items provide a passive effect that aren't consumed. Today, we'll go over the most common types of items and what they do. In VGC, you're only allowed one of each item on your team, so two Pokemon can't hold the same item. This makes choosing your item an important aspect of team building. First is berries. Berries are a very common item type seen in VGC, and the most common by far is the citrus berry. When a Pokemon drops below 50% health, they'll eat the citrus berry to recover 25% of their max health. There's a few berries that are similar to these. They're often called pinch berries because they activate when your Pokemon is in a pinch. They activate at 25% instead of 50%. But since there's a higher risk of having a lower HP threshold, instead of regaining 25% of their max HP, they restore 33%. However, they have a weird interaction with different natures of Pokemon, and if your Pokemon's nature determines that they dislike the berry, then they'll get confused when they eat it. So just make sure you put the right berry on the right Pokemon. Both of these types of berries are often seen on bulkier Pokemon that want to stick on the field for longer. The next most common berry is the Lumberry. If a Pokemon holding this is inflicted with any sort of status condition, they'll eat the berry to remove the status condition. There are specific berries for each status condition as well, but since Lum will remove any of them, it's the most common. It's often seen on physical attackers that really don't want to be burned, or Pokemon that want to avoid being put to sleep. Lastly, there's super effective reducing berries. There's one corresponding to each type, and when a Pokemon holding the corresponding berry is hit with a super effective move, they'll eat the berry to reduce the damage taken by half. And there's a berry for normal moves, since normal isn't super effective against anything, but it will just reduce one normal type attack by half. These berries aren't seen too often, especially in an open team sheet format where your opponent can see your items, but they do have use. For example, in an early series of Scarlet and Violet, at one tournament, I ran a Volcarona holding a Koba berry because there wasn't really another item that I really wanted on it, and there was a lot of Pokemon using Terra Blast flying, so there was a lot of flying stab going around. Being able to guarantee that Volcarona would live a super effective hit not only dissuaded the opponent from clicking it, but could also throw them off if they weren't fully aware that I had it. Moving on from berries, we have offensive items. Each type has a corresponding item, and when a Pokemon holds one of these items, the moves of that type are boosted by 20%. For example, Magnet for electric moves, Mystic Water for water moves, Never Melt Ice for ice moves, or Charcoal for fire moves. One example seen recently is Rillaboom, sometimes holds the Miracle Seed. Generally, these are overshadowed by the other more powerful offensive items. Additionally, there's the Muscle Band and Wise Glasses, which increase physical or special moves by 10%. But again, this is such a small boost that they aren't seen much due to the other items giving a better boost. Next up is the king of damage boosters, the Life Orb. This is a very common item that increases the damage from all moves by 30%. But whenever a Pokemon attacks using this item, they lose 10% of their max health. It significantly increases their damage, but it has more of a trade-off. It's very common, as mentioned, especially in the fast format of VGC, where the overturn life drain is less substantial due to the games being shorter. Many physical and special attackers use this item. The Choice Band and Choice Specs are also relatively common. They increase your physical or special moves by 50%, but Pokemon using these items can only use the first move they choose until they switch out, locking them into one move for a huge power boost. The Choice Scarf similarly increases your Pokemon's speed by 50% and has the same effect of locking them into the first move that they choose. Hence the name Choice Items, you have to choose your moves carefully. Next up is the Booster Energy. This item can only be used by Pokemon with the ability Photosynthesis or Quark Drive. If a Pokemon with one of those abilities is sent on the field holding the Booster Energy, they will consume the Booster Energy to trigger their ability, without needing Sun or Electric Drain. In the vast majority of cases, Special Attack, or Speed is the stat being boosted since that's generally the highest. Clear Amulet is an item that prevents your Pokemon stats from being lowered. Pretty much the same as the ability Clear Body, It's very useful against Pokemon that don't want to be intimidated, so it's seen on a lot of physical attackers. Last for offensive items is the weakness policy, which was seen more in previous formats. When a Pokemon holding the weakness policy is attacked by a super effective move, it will consume the item to raise both attack and special attack by 2 stages. Pokemon needs to be bulky enough to take the hit and then have enough health left over to use the boosts, so it's a very niche item. Next are defensive items. Leftovers restores 1/16 of your Pokemon's health each turn. It's less common in VGC since the aforementioned healing berries heal a huge chunk all at once. But on Pokemon that really want long battles and want to sit on the field for a long time, sometimes they run leftovers. Assault Vest, another very common item, increases your Pokemon's special defense by 50%. But they can only use attacking moves when they wear it. So often bulky Pokemon with lower special defense will run this item to be bulky physically and specially. The Focus Sash is another very common item, and it prevents your Pokemon from being knocked out in one hit. When a Pokemon holding the Focus Sash would be knocked out in one hit, they'll consume the item to remain at 1 health. It's often seen on frail or fast Pokemon that can do a lot of damage and really benefit from getting 2 attacks in when they normally would get taken out in 1 hit. There's also 4 seeds that are related to the 4 terrains. The Grassy Seed, Electric Seed, Psychic Seed, and Misty Seed will be consumed when the holder is in the respective terrain. The Grassy and Electric Seed raise the user's defense by 1 stage, and the Psychic and Misty Seed raise the user's special defense by 1 stage. Next is utility items. Safety Goggles is another common item, and it makes your Pokemon immune to Spore and Powder moves, and residual damage from Sandstorm. It's a pretty common item to wall the Pokemon Amoonguss, because it makes you not only immune to its Spore, so it can't put you to sleep, it also makes you immune to Rage Powder, so it ignores the redirection effect from that move. Covert Cloak is an item that makes the holder immune to secondary effects of moves. Things like Fake Out will no longer flinch, and Snarl will no longer reduce your special attack. The damage taken by moves is not affected, and many support Pokemon benefit from being immune to Fake Out. A Pokemon holding the Rocky Helmet will inflict 1/6 of their opponent's max HP if they attack it with a contact move. So usually bulky Pokemon that want to take multiple hits will run this item, something like Amoonguss. There are 4 consumable herb items. The Mental Herb will be consumed to shake off a move limiting effect like Taunt or Encore. The Mirror Herb will be consumed when an opponent increases their stats to copy that stat raise. The Power Herb will be consumed when the holder uses a 2-turn move, and it allows them to use the move in 1 turn. The White Herb will be consumed when the holder has a stat lowered, restoring the reduced stat to normal. The Mirror Herb is the least common, as it relies on your opponent needing to boost their stats. The White Herb is also mostly outclassed by the Clear Amulet, since it simply prevents the stat lowering rather than needing to be consumed to raise it, but the Power Herb and Mental Herb both see play. Lastly, there's a couple moves and abilities that can affect items. The move Knockoff is most common. It's a Dark-type move that will remove the target's item if it hits. It also gets a 50% power boost if the target is holding an item. So subsequent hits on the same target will do less damage, but that first hit is quite strong. Trick and Switcheroo are moves that switch items with the user and the target. Sometimes seen on Pokemon holding a choice item that can lock the opponent into using a move they might not want to be locked into. There are also some items that seem like they are only negative, like Iron Ball, which halves the user's speed, or Flame Orb, which burns the user. In most cases they are negative, but in niche scenarios they can be good. Flame Orb can activate a Pokemon's Guts ability, which gives an attack boost when they're statused. Or either of these items could be tricked onto an opponent to neutralize a threat, and that's the gist of items. There's also some items specific to certain Pokemon, like the Light Ball doubles Pikachu's attack and special attack, but it doesn't do anything on any other Pokemon. Ogerpon has the Hearthflame, Wellspring, and Cornerstone Mask that change its type and increase its damage output. There's many Pokemon specific items, but again they're quite niche, so you'll learn about them as you go. Thanks for watching.